at Glastonbury was just beyond.
And nothing has happened since.
But it was predictable as well.
Totally. And he was there for 5 hours after it happened and let that video stay on air.
So if Tim Davie goes... Fine, that's one person.
No.
How do you change the culture of the BBC?
Well, you've got to
because that's what you're arguing.
Oh, absolutely. There's got to be a whole new raft of people brought in. The real problem with the BBC is this, that everything depends on the chairman, Shamil Shah. Yep. Now, what's interesting is that Shah said originally that there's a huge problem in the BBC and we've got to solve it. But after the Glastonbury thing, he said he thought Tim Davie had handled it well. So he's been bought on. Lisa Nandy said heads must roll.
Yes,
suddenly she says not. They've all been nobbled. It's like the Afghan thing is another establishment cover-up. But this time, the BBC is far too important. It is facing an existential question under Tim Davie's leadership.
But Tom, it isn't going to change much, is it?
Well, if it doesn't, then it's the end of the BBC, because it cannot continue with these people who are ignorant and incapable of understanding their own limitations. That is the real problem. And so, therefore, it needs a whole new structure, new management people in to cure the problem.
Ignorant, there we are. Tom, so many royal stories around. Quick picture of Harry recreating his mother's time with, the Halo Trust, going into the minefield. What's Meghan not with him? What's that all about?
It's a stunt. Harry is desperate. Harry is desperate to get back to England. Harry is desperate to distance himself from the bitter feuds of his wife. And in any case, she's excluded him from her business things.
Is there sort of a slow breakup happening here?
Well, I don't think he'll ever want to leave California because he won't want to leave his children. But he's desperate for an identity. And what he really fears is that when the king, God forbid, dies, that his brother, Prince William, is going to banish him from Britain. And therefore he can't get back at all. And so somehow he's trying to ingratiate himself. But he's advised by people, Californian advisors, who don't understand Britain. So they let the Mail do the photographs. They think it's clever for him to recreate something that Diana did more than 25 years ago. It's all falling flat. Everyone knows.
Yeah, it is completely. By the way,
welcome back to another powerful episode of Royal Sussex Squad, the place where we celebrate truth, dignity, legacy, and the unshakable strength of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Today, we are diving deep into the desperate attempts by the British media to discredit yet another deeply human, legacy-driven act by Prince Harry, his return to Angola. But let me tell you right now, this wasn't a stunt, this wasn't desperation, this was history, this was healing. This was Harry continuing his mother's legacy in the face of venom, bitterness and institutional cruelty. And those who call it a stunt, we're about to unpack exactly why they want you to believe that. Spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with Harry's motives and everything to do with their fear that he's still loved. Still impactful, still royal, even without their permission. So settle in, grab your tea, because we're about to take our time unpacking this one. And don't forget, if you love the truth, if you support Meghan and Harry, hit that subscribe button and show your support with a super thanks. Because every time you lift your voice, it echoes louder than the hate. Let's begin. Let's go back to the image that started it all. Prince Harry in Angola, walking through cleared minefields in protective gear, a bulletproof vest, a visor, surrounded by children, by survivors, by hope. This is not a man staging a performance. This is a son honouring the memory of his mother. The woman who risked her life in 1997 to raise awareness about landmines in one of the most dangerous places on Earth. Now here comes Tom Bower, leaping out of the shadows like a royal cockroach who's never seen sunlight, running straight to GB News to say, and I quote, "It's a stunt. Harry is desperate." Really, Tom? Desperate? Let me tell you what's desperate. A grown man scrambling for relevance by clinging to a prince's every move. A so-called biographer who's never had direct access to Harry or Meghan, but claims to be an expert on their lives. A man who's made a career of tearing people down, especially women like Meghan Markle, under the thin veil of analysis. You see, these people aren't interested in facts. They're interested in controlling the narrative. Because when Harry walks through a minefield, when he teaches children in Portuguese how to stay safe, when he embraces a nation still recovering from war that threatens the British establishment in ways they cannot control, it reminds the world that Harry doesn't need the crown to lead. His royalty is in his heart, his actions, his legacy, and that is what enrages them. Tom Bower had the audacity to claim that Harry's trip to Angola was about escaping Meghan, suggesting he's desperate to distance himself from her and somehow ingratiate himself with Britain again. What absolute nonsense. Let's be clear. Harry is not running from Meghan. He's walking beside his mother's ghost, hand in hand with her memory, shoulder to shoulder with humanitarian truth. Meghan, as always, supports him. They are a unit, a family, stronger than ever. And anyone trying to wedge themselves in between them, well, let's just say they're barking at a locked gate. Harry met with families in Angola. He taught children how to avoid landmines. He took part in controlled detonations. This is not the behaviour of a man chasing PR. This is the work of a man rooted in purpose, just like Diana. And that's what they hate. Because the minute Harry does something genuine, something pure, something good, they have to tear it down. The minute he reminds us of Diana, not in appearance but in spirit, they panic. Because it reminds the world that goodness doesn't come with a crown, it comes from conscience. And let's talk about that. Harry's conscience. His commitment. This is his second visit to Angola. He was there in 2019, retracing his mother's steps. He is the patron of Halo Trust. Not a one-time gig, not a photo op, but years of support. Continued work. This is dedication. Meanwhile, back in London, they're still fuming over Spare. Still clutching their pearls over the fact that Harry had the courage to tell his story. And now, with reports swirling of potential peace talks between him and King Charles, the vultures are out in full force trying to derail any narrative of reconciliation. And that's where it gets interesting. Because this trip didn't happen in isolation, it happened in the middle of rumours about Harry potentially returning to the UK in September, a possible meeting with Charles, a thawing of icy relationships. But you see, the firm doesn't want peace, not real peace. Not one that gives Harry autonomy. They want submission. They want him crawling back, head down, apologising for being too honest. Well, guess what? Harry's not playing their game. He's doing the work. Real work. Not ribbon-cutting photo ops. Not staged charity visits followed by PR teams releasing glossy photos. No, he's on the ground, in the dust, with the people, just like his mother. Now let's pause here and ask, what exactly is Tom Bower afraid of? Because make no mistake, that's what this is. Fear. The fear that Harry, without the institution, is more influential than Harry within it. The fear that he's no longer playing their game, but still winning hearts, still commanding attention, still rewriting the rules. And Meghan? Oh, they never stop with her. Bower hinted, as always, that she's somehow the problem, that Harry's being led, manipulated, misunderstood. It's always the same misogynistic script: blame the woman, paint the biracial American Duchess as a wedge, a seductress, a destroyer. But we see right through that. We see a couple that's thriving, building businesses, creating content, supporting causes, raising two beautiful children away from the madness. And yet the British media refuses to let them live in peace. Why? Because peace is boring, peace doesn't sell, scandal does, and so every act of grace, every moment of truth must be twisted into desperation. But here's what they didn't count on. They didn't count on us, the supporters, the truth-tellers, the ones who will not sit quietly while the likes of Tom Bower call Harry desperate for walking a minefield. Let me say this loud and clear. Desperation is not walking in your mother's footsteps to prevent children from dying. Desperation is sitting on a cable news couch spewing poison because no one wants to read your tired, hate-filled books. Harry is not desperate. He is determined. And that's what scares them the most. As we wrap up today's deep dive, let's remember what really matters. Legacy, truth, purpose, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her son. Harry doesn't need the palace to honour Diana. He is her legacy, and for every child who now knows how to avoid a landmine because of him, that is the only crown that matters. To those like Tom Bower and the media ghouls constantly twisting Harry's every move, you may shout louder, but the world is finally listening differently. You can't erase what's real. You can't rewrite history when we're watching it unfold in real time. Prince Harry, we see you. We honour your work, and we stand with you, always. If this is an article, I want to use it to create a script for my channel podcast Royal Sussex Squad. I want to portray Harry and Meghan positively and slam anyone portraying them negatively, make it at least a 50 minutes video script, encourage people to subscribe and donate via super thanks at the outro. It's a stunt. Tom Bower wades in on Prince Harry's desperate move after Crunch peace talks. The royal author said Harry has grave fears about how Prince William might treat him. Royal biographer Tom Bower has launched a scathing attack on Prince Harry's recent visit to Angola, dismissing it as a desperate publicity stunt. Speaking on GB News, Bower claimed the Duke of Sussex's trip to retrace his mother Princess Diana's famous 1997 landmine walk was a calculated move driven by fear and desperation. It's a stunt. Harry is desperate, Bower said during his television appearance. He is desperate to get back to England and distance himself with the bitter feud of his wife. The royal commentator suggested that whilst Harry would never leave California because of his children, he was struggling to establish his own identity. Bower went further, claiming the prince was motivated by concerns about his future relationship with the monarchy. What he really fears is, when the king, God forbid, dies, his brother is going to banish himself from Britain. So in some ways he is trying to ingratiate himself, he explained. Prince Harry visited Angola on Wednesday to support landmine clearance efforts, following in the footsteps of his late mother, who made the same journey 28 years ago. The Duke of Sussex, patron of the Halo Trust charity, met families in the remote village of Quito Quanavale and taught children mine safety phrases in Portuguese. "Stop, go back and tell your elders," he instructed them, aiming to prevent accidental detonations. Wearing protective gear including a visor and bulletproof vest, Harry walked through cleared minefields and participated in a controlled detonation exercise. His visit echoed Princess Diana's iconic 1997 trip to Huambo, where she famously walked through a minefield just months before her death in a Paris car crash. Children should never have to live in fear of playing outside or walking to school. Here in Angola, over 3 decades later, the remnants of war still threaten lives every day, Harry said. The prince also met Angolan President João Lourenço on Tuesday to discuss ongoing demining efforts in the country, which hosts Africa's largest minefield. Bower also criticised the advisers surrounding the Duke of Sussex, suggesting they fundamentally misunderstood British culture and sentiment. He's advised by Californians who don't understand Britain. They think it's clever to let him recreate something Diana did, but it's all falling flat, the biographer stated. The timing of Harry's Angola visit comes amid reports of potential reconciliation efforts between the Prince and King Charles. According to recent reports, aides from both camps have held meetings to discuss avoiding media and calendar clashes. The Duke hasn't seen his father in approximately 18 months, following his and Meghan's decision to step back as working royals and the publication of his memoir, Spare. Harry is expected to return to the UK in September for a well-child event, sparking speculation about a possible meeting with the King. The Angola trip marked Harry's second visit to the country's minefields, having previously retraced his mother's steps in Huambo in September 2019. Thank you for tuning in to Royal Sussex Squad. If you believe in truth, in legacy, in compassion, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Tap that bell so you never miss an update. And if this episode moved you, empowered you, or just reminded you of the power of light in a world so full of noise, please consider supporting us with a super thanks. Every contribution helps us push back against the hate and amplify the truth. Until next time, stay loud, stay proud, and always stay on the side of love. Long live the Sussexes.